You're watching Pyro Media Network. Hello, Pyro Media family. Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope your experience with us is fruitful. While we are loading your experience, please do us a quick favor and hit that like button from whichever platform you're watching or listening on. And we do hope you consider hitting that subscribe or follow button so you can check out more of our amazing content. All right, let's start the show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another round of Conversations with Clergy with your boy, Dr. Donta Morrison. I am excited to be back for another in-depth conversation of how we can build bridges between the science community and the faith community in combat situations like COVID, tuberculosis, HIV, and all kind of stuff that really has been just circulating through the atmosphere, for as long as I can remember. But I am glad that you are here. I am listen, I'm exhausted. I am tired. I've had a very long work day, but these conversations are extremely important to me because I love educating people and I want everyone to be in their best state of knowledge when it comes to how we can live our best life. So with that being said, go grab a pad and pencil and all kind of stuff to take some notes on today. We're going to talk about ways to just better how the Black church responds to all things health. And that's all things health. I want us all to be on the same page and have good conversations. It's really going to elevate us and just take us to another level of awareness. But I cannot do this without support from the HVTN, or the HIV Vaccine Trials Network. I am the faith ambassador with the HVTN, and that means that my job is to curate conversations between faith communities and the science community to really further educate. If you are not familiar with the HVTN, please visit their website at www.hvtn.org. And when you get on there, go ahead and click Faith-Based Initiative, and you will see me and all of my co-laborers in the work. It's about 8 of us, and we're all across the country, and we're having these conversations to make sure that our people are staying in the know, because it is so important. If this is your first time watching, welcome. If you are a repeat viewer, thank you for coming back, and I appreciate you. Also, I got to shout out Church One Ministries. They are also instrumental in making Conversations with Clergy go further in advance and let people know what we're doing, because Church One is located in Long Beach and does a lot of work to make sure that the messages about COVID-19 and COVID-19 testing stays in the community. If you or someone you know needs to access an at-home COVID-19 test kit, just reach out to Church One, 700 East 70th Street, Long Beach, California, 90805. They have those COVID-19 tests on site and ready for you for absolutely free. Absolutely free. All right. And if you want to learn more about COVID-19 vaccines and all that kind of good stuff, I'll share information about that a little bit later on. So now it's time to get into the conversation. So today's guest is my homie, Pastor Gary Bernard Williams of St. Mark United Methodist Church. There you go. United Methodist Church. He and I had the pleasure of coming in contact about 2 years ago. And from our first time talking, we have hit it off and we have been boys ever since. And I'm glad that he's with me on today. I'm hoping that Pastor Cedric Nelms is able to join us. If you don't know, herding pastors is like herding cats. Pastors are always doing something. If they're not burying somebody, they're marrying somebody. If they're not at the bedside of the sick and the shut in, they're at some kind of school function, football game, basketball game, supporting the kids in the community, doing all kind of stuff. So Pastor Nelms is probably out there just doing his due diligence as a pastor and might jump on a little bit later. But for now, it's going to be me and Pastor Williams. So without further ado, please welcome back to Conversations with Clergy, Pastor Gary Bernard Williams. What's up, sir? Welcome back to another round of conversation.
Well, thank you, sir. It's so good to be with you again, Dr. Donta. Thank you.
Yeah, man, I love you, man, because you are always 100. You're always consistent. And one thing I appreciate about you is you are one of the most approachable pastors I've ever met. I've met some pastors that you got to go through fire and brimstone, walk on hot coals and nails and all kind of stuff to get them to answer the phone or just respond to a text message. But you've always just picked up the phone when I called, responded when I called, and been willing to engage in these important community-based conversations. Because if we don't educate the community, then guess what? We're going to repeat the same problems and the same issues over and over and over. So before we get into the conversation, let people know where you pastor, where you from, and a little bit about you.
Okay. Again, I'm Gary Bernard Williams. I'm the senior pastor at St. Mark United Methodist Church, 8305 South Gramercy Place, right on the corner in South Los Angeles, on the corner 83rd and Gramercy. It's a big pink church. You cannot miss us. Very bright pink. Born and raised in South Los Angeles. Passionate about the work in this community. I've been around. I've been involved in. I've been at this church now 8 years. I've been an ordained minister for 14 years, and I'm also a recovering addict and connected with the recovery community. And so I just love trying to help encourage folk to be their best and live their best life, like you just said.
I love that. I love that. And thank you for being transparent about your journey and all that, because most won't do that as well. So when you talk about recovery, of course, that is a very inclusive and robust conversation. You know, because actually I hosted Bible study last night for my church, Church One Ministries in Long Beach, and one of our deacons was my guest for Bible study, and he shared his experience with addiction and recovery and all that, and then inserted, you know, the power of prayer, power of knowing God, and just the spiritual aspect that helped him just overcome, you know, and get to a place of healing. And I applaud anyone that is not scared to be honest about what they've been through, what they're going through, and where they are now. But as a pastor, has your testimony ever ruffled feathers and people try to say, no, don't talk about that? They need to see you as pristine.
Right. Absolutely. One of my members told me years back, she said, you sure like to talk about being in recovery a lot. I said, well, the reason I do that is the fact that, you know, you might have a loved one or somebody else in this congregation, someone might hear about me and know that they have somebody in their family that needs help, and they know that they could turn to somebody who's actually been through it. Mm-hmm. You know, so I share about it, and it's a big part of my ministry. It's not the whole part of my ministry, but it's a large part of it because I'm so connected with that community. I bury a lot of people in recovery. I do a lot of their marriages. I go to when they get a new home, they ask me to come by and bless their home. And so, right. You know, I'm really connected with that community.
And it's something that I want to talk about that, because this is going to catapult us to a whole other conversation. You talked about you bury people who have succumbed to, you know, substance use or addiction or what have you. Now, I recall a time when pastors would not bury people that died of AIDS, you know, and died of HIV. They would not perform the funeral services because they associated HIV and AIDS with homosexuality. And we all know the church, or some churches, you know, still have not welcomed or embraced persons who identify as LGBTQ. So I'm not sure if you remember that era. I think you're a little bit older than me.
So, you know, I remember that era
then. So were you a pastor during that time?
No. I was not. I was not, but I remember how hard that was. I remember the pain, the struggle with people, family members trying to get their loved ones, have a church funeral.
Right.
It was a horrible time. I remember that. Yes.
So during that season, being that you were not clergy and you're clergy now, of course, I know you have a problem bearing someone that succumbed to anything. But did it skew your idea of church? Did it make you look at pastors and church and all that like, man, I can't be a part of that?
No, because I've always believed that as an individual, person of faith, and somebody that always felt a call, my call has always been to provide the kind of help and need that everybody, whatever the needs are, to provide that. Because like during COVID, there were a lot of churches that were gouging folk to have a funeral.
Right.
They were charging way more money. I've had people call me that, my mom passed away. She's a member of this church, but she had been there for a long time. The pastor wanted to charge him $2,500 for the funeral.
Yeah.
So I wind up having funerals, and I wind up going places and doing funerals because pastors wouldn't even show up during COVID.
Right.
So yeah. So that's, I've always tried to, be as open and ready to serve as possible. God's blessed me to be, I come out of the lifestyle I came out of, and how dare I not be able to go back and pull folks in.
And it's funny how we use scripture. We use, one of the most well-known passages is John 3:16. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish. But it's funny how that word whosoever, it does not apply to everybody when man begins to use it. You step into a place of worship or a faith community, and they say come as you are, and you come as you are, being that whosoever believeth, you come as you are, and you are a believer. Yet there's still a level of conversion that seems to take place in the church. And I'm not saying conversion just for gays, but conversion for everybody to say, no, you need to shift and you need to act this way, hold fast to this traditional approach and all that. So your church, you're part of the United Methodist Church, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and I believe that there is some progression that's occurring within that denomination and some inclusivity, I believe. And then as that, being a pastor that is heterosexual, a part of a denomination that is more affirming and welcoming, what message let me not go there first. What roadblocks have you faced when you share that that's where you're at?
I haven't, since I've been here 8 years. And it's taken all of that 8 years to cultivate this sanctuary, this church, to get people prepared to open up and be more welcoming of everybody. And like I said, I've gotten a little pushback, but not a whole lot. Like the former bishop that I had, I told her that when my son got married, wanted to be married, he asked me to officiate his same-sex wedding, that I was gonna. I told her I wanted to do it. She said, well, go with my blessing. She said, go with your heart. You know what I mean? And so, but that's something that I haven't. I don't share that with everybody, because some folk can use that against me, because we haven't. The church is not. We're going to the general conference to make a decision. But until that decision is made, that's still a chargeable offense. I'm not afraid of that, but I just don't share that with everybody. You know what I mean? So there are some hindrances, there are some roadblocks. This congregation is getting much better at being more welcoming than they thought they were.
And speaking of that, you said you got a story. You got a story to share, right?
Yes. So I had a wonderful young minister, Reverend Courtney Mackey. He's now he's at, I believe, it's St. Paul AME Church in Atlanta. He's the executive pastor, but he will be moving to Southern California and he will become the pastor of the Laguna Beach United Methodist Church.
Okay.
And he was here to do an introductory meeting with the church leaders at Laguna. So I had invited him to come and preach. And he's in the same sex marriage.
Okay.
And so this past Sunday he came, and we walked in with his whole family, with his husband. They're raising 3 beautiful children. And when we introduced him, and I had his husband, please stand up so that everybody can see your family, and let's praise, give God some praise. And everybody did.
Right.
But I talked to one of my members of the choir a few days ago, and she said, Pastor, my sister and I were questions. Did he say husband? And she said, while they were talking about it, the granddaughter was in the car with them. She said, you missed the message then. If that was the most important thing, was he's married to, is in the same gender relationship, then what, you missed the sermon he preached. And that kind of helped them. Oh, yeah. And then she said, matter of fact, my granddaughter is gay. So it kind of helped them to kind of like, come on now. We need to move past this.
Right.
Because all means all.
All means all. Whosoever.
Yeah,
and when
right.
you say we need to move past this, what kind of work do you think needs to be done for us to even start the process of moving past it? What do you think needs to be deconstructed?
Yeah, these conversations, education, with the congregation. Like the time that you came over to our church, and we had people that stayed at the church to kind of hear about direction, the vision, and I've been laying this vision out for years, and preparing them for it. And I think every church needs to have these kind of conversations. Clergy need to talk among themselves where they are, and be honest about it. Have some honest dialogue about, some people are not ready, and that's okay. Right. You know what I mean? I had a meeting today with my bishop and about a group of 25 Black clergy, and it came up in the conversation. One of the sisters, she brought that question. She said, she's queer, and she said, I was hoping to have these kind of conversations with other clergy, and we haven't been able to do that. And so, that's what we need to begin, is I think having those conversations among ourselves.
But there seems to be a fear in that space, or a fear of having those conversations or those dialogues, because it's going to disrupt what people have been taught to believe, intergenerationally and whatnot. And I always tell people, I'm not trying to change anyone's theological understanding, but I am trying to change their approach to certain situations. And if you don't understand a thing, calling stuff this or calling it that based upon ignorance and lack of understanding, to me, is a cop-out. But I would love for us to be able to sit down and really get to the root of some of the things that we cast so much judgment on.
Yeah,
I think that's important. And especially in these conversations, we talk about sexual health, talking about HIV, talking about vaccines, COVID-19. We know when COVID came in, the ignorance around it was huge. People were ignorant. They had no idea what was going on, but they went instantly into panic mode. You couldn't get no toilet tissue. You couldn't find no canned goods. You couldn't find nothing. Right. I mean, the stores were just mopped clean. There was nothing there because of fear and panic. And then when we had a vaccine that came out, similar things happened. Fear and panic. It's like, I don't want to catch COVID because people are succumbing to it, or people are becoming chronically ill and what have you. But then I don't want to take a vaccine because the vaccine came out too fast. So we were caught in this middle section, and a lot of people look to their pastors, their fearless leaders, to say, what do we do, man of God? What instructions did God give you? How are we supposed to navigate this? What's the next steps? How did you balance that most trying time in this current generation?
So we've been a host of vaccine clinics for the last few years, and we got a real good partnership with the county. They call us all the time when they're ready to do another vaccine clinic, and we always open to host them, make sure that our people know, we get the word out to the community. Coming back to church, we made sure people were safe. We made sure we had masks. But I always talked about the fact that I'm fully vaccinated, and I just think it's the right thing to do. And then we've actually been able to bear witness that we've had some people that have gotten COVID, and if it wasn't for the fact that they were vaccinated, they might have died. One of my members was one of my best volunteers. She's fully vaccinated, but she has some health. She had diabetes and some other things. And when she got COVID, it almost killed her. And she was fully vaccinated. And she testifies to that. She's so glad that she was vaccinated because she would have died without being vaccinated. So we talk about that and share that testimony that the vaccine saved her life.
So what do you think? So for those who were not getting vaccinated and did not care what her testimony said, didn't care how it saved her life, they were just not going to do it. Did you have any people in your church that were like 100% resistant and just had the mindset of, I don't care who presents it. I don't care if God himself tells me I need it. I'm not going to get it. Yes.
And I was actually shocked at some people that never got vaccinated. And it's like, I still have people tell me, no, I'm not vaccinated. I'm like, well, okay. It's just really surprising that some of the people that have told me they're not going to be vaccinated, people in the recovery community, they should, for me, they should know better. You know what I mean? Coming through because of the fact that when we were out there, we could have caught all kind of stuff.
Right.
And so, I just remain shocked. And I've had people to ask me to write letters to keep, I just don't feel like I can do that, write a letter to exempt you from getting vaccinated.
Because that was a thing. Get a letter from your church, letter from your pastor, talk about that. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I want to insert the question, what part of the anti-vax movement do you think was driven by race and medical mistrust? I want to unpack that right after this quick commercial break. We'll be right back, y'all.
Because self-care should be luxurious. Luxe Noir.
Hey pilots, did you know that you can now catch the electrifying sounds of Bulletin Flight Radio anywhere you go? Yes, you heard it right. Tune in to the high-flying beats and soaring melodies by downloading the TuneIn app on your mobile device. Just search for Bulletin Flight Radio and hit play. It's that easy. And if you have a smart device like Alexa or Google, just say, hey Google or Alexa, play Bulletin Flight Radio on TuneIn. Experience the rush of adrenaline wherever you are. Listen to Bulletin Flight Radio on TuneIn using your Alexa or Google devices. Soaring through the skies has never sounded this good. Don't miss out on the ultimate musical journey. Tune in now to Bulletin Flight Radio on TuneIn and let the music take you on an unforgettable ride. Get ready to elevate your listening experience. Brought to you by Bulletin Flight Radio.
Are you ready for enlightening conversations that transcend boundaries? Get ready for Conversations with Clergy, brought to you by the HIV Vaccine Trials Network. In partnership with the world's largest publicly funded international collaboration, the HVTN is dedicated to evaluating vaccines to prevent HIV and COVID-19. But their impact doesn't stop there. The HVTN is at the forefront of advancing vaccinology, social and behavioral sciences, statistics, immunology, and even contributing to the research on tuberculosis and COVID-19 vaccines. By supporting Conversations with Clergy, the HVTN not only brings you thought-provoking discussions, but also contributes to the global effort to combat infectious diseases. Tune in, stay informed, and be a part of the change. Conversations with Clergy, supported by the HVTN, empowering conversations, empowering lives. Join us in this journey of knowledge, understanding, and progress. Conversations with Clergy, proudly brought to you by the HIV Vaccine Trials Network, because together we can make a difference. Welcome back to the second half of Conversations with Clergy. I'm your boy, Dr. Donta Morrison, and then my guest on today is Pastor Gary Bernard Williams of St. Mark United Methodist Church in the wonderful city of Los Angeles. So we had a robust conversation about just the importance of the church kind of catching up with what's going on currently and letting some of those antiquated and outdated behaviors, just let it go so we can move things forward and really begin to do the work of changing community. We talked about COVID-19 vaccines and how people were resistant to it within his church, and some still are resistant to it. And I asked the question before break, what do you think race had to do with it? Do you think that Black people as a whole are just still dealing with medical mistrust? Do you think that Black people are still dealing with thoughts stemming from Tuskegee and the syphilis experiment? Many of whom nowadays is using that argument don't even know what happened. They just are saying sound bites they got off of TikTok and Instagram. So why do you think Black people are still so resistant to modern medicine and scientific advancements?
I mean, it's a lot of misinformation that's being produced and sent out on TikTok, on Facebook, and all those. I think that has a lot to do with it. Black folk have always had historically mistrust with doctors. A lot of people don't go to the doctor until it's almost too late. You know, a lot of us won't seek therapy for mental illness because we think we should both just be able to get over it. And so that's why a lot of us it's a deep mistrust in the community based on, I think, without people knowing it's built in our DNA now. From Tuskegee, from that whole thing all the way up. They just like they talk about Black women can take more pain than white women and all that kind of crazy. I mean? So yeah, there's a lot of racism involved in the way that a doctor approaches us. And so that leads to a lot of mistrust, a lot of misdiagnosis as well, Yeah.
And it's something to be said about that catchphrase, get over it. That's all we seem to hear when it comes to social unrest, get over it. When it comes to racism, get over it. When it comes to our mistrust of medical care, get over it. Everything is get over. At what point do we do the work to make sure that we are properly educated, informed, and at the table making these decisions? And I say that because when COVID first hit and people were talking about the vaccine, I had a very well-respected vaccinologist come onto the Donta show to talk about the vaccine, talk about COVID, break it all down to the scientific base, but he was not as received as I wanted him to be because he was not Black. He wasn't Black. So the following week, I had a Black person come on, a Black doctor, and did the same exact conversation. and he was not received because they felt he was a sellout working for the man.
Wow.
Who do y'all want to get the information from? It's like, how do I educate?
Right.
How do we break down that mistrust within the Black community, within communities of colors as a whole? How do we get to a place where we can say, look, this is the information, this is the truth, this is what has been researched and studied, so what are we going to do? How are we going to move this forward? Because I think about all the people whose lives could have been spared if they would have just taken the vaccine. And not just for COVID-19, we can go back to other vaccines that are available that people just are not taking. But how many lives could have been saved? And people are saying, well, I'm going all natural. Unfortunately, the world we live in has eradicated a lot of the natural things that we need. Our air quality is poor, smog, and all that kind of stuff is going on. Our foods is covered with pesticides. You got to be rich to be a true vegan. And to really eat healthy, you have to have some money, and proper places to store that food. But we think about larger families, people that are lower economic status. They can't afford to eat healthy because you can't buy healthy foods in bulk at a reasonable price. So thinking of that, your church has a community garden.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that because you're doing the work.
Yeah. So it happened during COVID. At the height of COVID, we went. Our food pantry was passing out food, and we were getting bulk because they were dropping off. Tons of food for us to give away because people were struggling. But a lot of it was salty, canned goods, stuff like that. Especially we're into produce, so that became a passion. We started a garden, and we started growing food and just washing it and putting it in a basket and giving it out. When they came to pick up food, we had a table with fresh vegetables on it. And so from there, my wife started inquiring about other places where we can get more vegetables, more healthier choices. And so our garden has kind of taken off. And now because of the work we were doing, we've been in we've had a couple of articles written about us, about our passion around food justice and food equity, and living in a food apartheid. You used to call it food desert, call it food apartheid now. Been talking a lot about the fast foods places, with too many of them in this community. And so because of that work, that my conference, the CalPAC conference, has given me another property on 64th and Normandy. It used to be Epworth United Methodist Church. And they tore the church down about 25 years back, and they built affordable housing for emancipated young adults coming out of foster care. But adjacent to it was a 9,500 square foot lot that they were going to create a garden on. And they did all the work to have this garden, but it went unmanaged for like 15 years. So I was given the keys to it. So we now have taken possession of that property. We've cleared it. Matter of fact, we just received our first grant of $150,000 to start the work on that to grow. It's going to be called the Epworth Farm. We're going to grow food. We're going to be able to educate people around healthy eating choices, farmers market, community gathering space. We're going to actually have two ministers that's going to be, one's a food scientist and a master gardener, but they're going to start a new faith community that's going to be focused on the reverencing the earth, growing food, how God wants us to be stewards, good stewards of the land. Yeah. And we're going to teach that. And so I'm really excited about that whole process. And, that's the largest grant I've received.
I love it. I mean, getting back to the garden, getting back to the core, getting back to where it all started. And I think some people just need a reset and a do-over so they can just begin to just exhale from all that we've had to endure over the last 4 years. You know, it's been a lot. It's been a lot of change. It's been a lot of pivoting. It's been a lot of grief, a lot of depression, a lot of loss, a lot of sadness. And some people are still stuck in that because to me, the church has not done a good job responding to the after effects of the pandemic. They've not been the welcoming space that people need to provide the therapy, the spiritual therapy that so many are lacking right now. So I love that you got the money, and I believe this is just the beginning. More money is going to come to take this to another level, because within the hood, we don't see that. And I think a lot of kids need to be exposed to that other opportunity, you know, of how to just thrive and survive off of the land. I think it's important. So my last question before we wrap it up on today, what can I do? What can the HVTN do to really make sure that your church is kept in the loop of everything that's going on when it comes to vaccine awareness, to make sure you know all about the current trends in HIV prevention, and just making sure that I can ensure that your church is a healthy space for the community to learn about scientific advancements?
So, Donta, you've already done that, and I appreciate that's how we met, is having that conversation. And then we were able to be a part of that pilot project that you led, and we were able to do HIV home testing for gay Black men. The banner's still flying, even though we're not doing it. But I wanted to stay out here because I want people to know that this is what this church is about. And so whenever, I appreciate you giving me this airspace to just be here. And I think it kind of enlarges my opportunities to say what St. Mark is about and what I'm about as a pastor, that health is important to me, for our church, for our community. And I'm always open to supporting whatever you're doing. And I look forward to any information that you can shoot my way. You know, we would love to do more HIV testing again. Any of that kind of stuff, I would love to. We're always open to all of that. We're really, really a community-driven congregation.
I love it.
Whether some of the members understand that or not, but every day this church is open. There's a group right now meeting right next door. A group of men meeting right now. Every day there's somebody.
Campus. It's an amazing campus. I don't think people know how much is on that campus. They don't realize. They just roll by.
It don't look like it. Right.
Right.
If you drive by it, you wouldn't know.
You would not know, but a full-on gym, the whole nine. It's an amazing space for community, and I think the church needs to be the community center again. It needs to be that landing space where people can just have safe and honest conversation. So whatever I can do to make sure that the St. Mark stays on the map, you got me. I will always be there to do workshops and what have you. So I appreciate this. Connect me with the pastor that's moving out here, that's going to Laguna.
I'm gonna do that.
Make sure you connect. Connect us, because I can do some work in Laguna Beach. I ain't scared. Because it truly takes a village. And I'm going to talk to you offline about some other opportunities that we can do. I want to do some clergy lunch and learns. I want to do all that, because I think a lot of the problem is that we have pastors that want to do the work, but they don't know how. And I think if we can find a way to get them all in one spot, and just do a little breakfast and say, listen, this is what should be done. This is how we can do this safely. Then it will help alleviate a lot of the pressure and confusion around how do I be a place for all, without going against what I believe the Bible to say, because the church, that's God's house. It's not the pastor's house. It's God's house. And God wants everyone to come to his house. But we're so busy saying who all gonna be there. I ain't coming. No, it's God's house. As long as God is there, the party still is in full effect. So let's talk. Let's talk. So Pastor Williams, thank you so much for being my guest on today. I'm looking forward to having some more offline conversations, bring you back for another round of conversations with Clergy.
Bless you, brother. Thank you.
Bless you, bless you, bless you. So listen, y'all, this is Conversation with Clergy. We are done. It's a wrap. So if you are tuning in late, or if you want to see the recap, you can always check us out on my YouTube page, Donta Morrison, or Pyro Media Network. You can go to my LinkedIn page, my Facebook page. Conversation with Clergy is out there. Also, to learn more about the HIV Vaccine Trials Network, please visit www.hvtn.org. Once again, www.hvtn.org. The HIV Vaccine Trials Network sponsors Conversations with Clergy with funding through the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center. So please make sure to just check out the HVTN. Also, make sure to check out Church One Ministries in Long Beach. Church One Ministries is a strong supporter of Conversations with Clergy because Church One is in the fight to help people learn more about COVID-19 and make sure people get tested for COVID-19 and learn about COVID-19 vaccines. So please, those two entities are the reasons why Conversations with Clergy is happening, but we cannot do anything without your help. So just make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. And I will see you on the next one. Don't know when it's going to happen because I'm waiting to see who my next guest is going to be, but it's going to happen again. So thank you all for supporting Conversations with Clergy. I love you. Take care. God bless.
Thank you for watching Pyro Media Network. For more information, please visit pyromedianetwork.com.